If you guys want to do that, feel free. But you just fucking morons.
Can you
when I first came into this topic, right, and the first time I was ever being gaslit overtly by them idiots was with Sean Huffroad and his GeoStreamer and all those idiots, and they were talking about angular size, and I said that angular size is not simply measuring the size of the angle of the thing that you're looking at. It's the measurement of the angle at a known distance. You need the distance element to be able to know its size. But they were jumping all over. It's just the measured angle, you fucking idiot, and making me feel stupid, right? Because there was about 5 or 6 of them doing the exact same thing. So obviously you question yourself and you go back to the definitions and it says from a given distance. You got to know that distance. So I doubled down and I said, no, look, it literally says this, and they were not having it.
What did you say to them, Anthony, that they were attacking? What was your exact statement?
The angular size isn't just a measurement. It's a measurement from a known distance.
But it can be just a measurement.
hold on, you need context, Brian. They're talking about referencing something with a size, an actual size, and derivation of the actual size from the angular size. That's the context. And when Anthony says, no, angular size, you need the distance, he means, no, angular size will only give you its actual size if you know the distance.
And they were saying, no, you just need the angle. Angular size is just a measured angle. And I'm like, no, it isn't. It's the measured angle.
Well, that's where you're wrong. But an angular size, angular size is just an angle.
Actually, you've got it back to front. When you measure the sun, and whatever size the sun presents itself, you measure it. It's incomplete if you say, well, its angular size is X amount of seconds and minutes. You've got to say from 93 million miles. That's what you've got to say. And then the question is, well, how do you know it's 93 million miles? But the angular size is not just an angle measurement. And that was the argument I was having. They were saying it is, like you just said, and it's not. The angular size is the angular size. Like it's the same as boiling water, right? Boiling water boils at 100 degrees at 1 atmospheric pressure or sea level. So it's 100 degrees at sea level. Well, the angular size of the sun is whatever measurement you make it at 93 million miles. And then the question is, well, how do you know it's 93 million miles? And that's how we got onto that topic. So you do need both elements for angular size. It's not just a measured angle.
Yeah, but you can just measure the angular size of something and just give it an angle. Like I can measure the angular size of a chair in my kitchen, and I don't need to know the height of the chair to have an angle.
No, you can't. You've got to be really careful, because if you think you can measure the angular size, you've got to also add the distance that you measured it from, because otherwise you have no knowledge.
But I don't have to know. But like just to get an angular size, I don't have to give you a distance to get an angular size. So I can measure the angular size of a pole down the road, and I don't need to know.
If you tell me that your chair measures a particular angular size, and I don't know whether you've measured that from 2 feet away or 25 feet away, if you don't tell me how far away you measured it, then your chair could be enormous.
I'm talking about the actual measurement itself. I don't need to give a distance or a size to the chair. I can just say my chair is 38 degrees angular size.
No, you can't.
I can, but I don't have to give it. I don't have to say any more than that. I can just measure an angular size.
You do, because if I measure your chair at 38 degrees from, say you're
missing the point of what I'm saying. You're missing what I'm saying.
I'm not arguing what you're saying.
But I can measure just an angle and not know the distance or actual size, and still know that. I can just measure an angle. I can just say that pole is 44 degrees.
You can't, because, right, so you measure your chair at, say, 38 degrees. But that doesn't change the pole being 44
degrees from where I stand. I can just make that measurement, and I don't have to have any details with it. I can't claim a distance, and I can't claim an actual size, but I can claim that from where I stand now, that pole is 44 degrees.
No, an angular size measurement of anything is just an angular size. Anthony's saying no, because Snaefell is the same angle as a further mountain away that's much bigger. Yeah, it is. They're both the same angular size, though, Anthony.
No, right. So there's a difference between the word angular size and the phrase angle size. Now, if you're going to measure merely an angle size, that's Brian's argument, and that's the point Nathan's doubling down with Brian. But you're describing angle size, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about angular size, which is defined, and it requires a distance as part of the measurement. You can't just have the measurement absent of the distance, because that's not angular size by definition. You can bring it up, you can look it up yourself, you'll come to the same conclusion by definition, not by colloquial use, by applying the definition of the term angular size. It's not the same as angle size.
I've never heard of angle size ever.
I gotta go.
Well, that's what you're describing. You're measuring its angle size and then misrepresenting it as its angular size when the definition of angular size is defined as requiring two components, not just one.
No,
I've got it on screen right now. Can you see it?
You've got your definition. I've got mine. Mine comes from physics.au. Angular size. Whenever you look at an object, you are measuring its angular size, the amount of space it takes up in your field of view in degrees or minutes. It's just the amount of space it takes up in your field of view. That's all angular size is.
Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yeah.
So they were talking about the sun, I think it might have been, or it might have been one of the stars. Doesn't matter what, something in the sky. And it says clearly, it says the angular size of an object is determined by its actual size and its distance from the observer. It isn't just its actual size measured with an angle thing like a protractor. It's the distance too. It's not because otherwise you have that infinitely variable position where the further away it gets, the bigger it has to be to maintain that proportionality. So that's why a mountain can measure at 35 degrees from a particular distance, in the same way as your chair can measure 35 degrees from a particular distance. If you don't put the distance to it to quantify the angular size, your assumed presumption is that the mountain and the chair must be the same size, because you haven't said how far away you're measuring the angle from.
No, but you're not presuming they're both the same size. You're saying that both have the same angular size. But that you don't need.
No.
Hang on. To use that,
angle size,
you're mixing something up. You're talking about the use of the angular size, as in use it for something. Hang on, would you please leave me just finish what I'm saying? You're talking about the use of the angular size, as in to get the actual size, you need to know the actual distance. To get the actual distance, you need to know the actual size. But if I don't know any of them, I can still measure the angular size of a chair at a distance. That doesn't change that I can't. I can actually just
only measure the angle size.
There's no rules against it. I can just measure the angular size. I don't have to do
You're conflating the word angle size with angular size, and it's by definition wrong.
Will you get me a definition of angle size, please?
Angle size is what you're measuring.
I want a citation for what you just claimed, which is angle size, because this is what you're arguing against.
Angle size is the measured angle.
Yeah, but you have to get me. You said angular size is different from angle size. That to me is exactly the same as conspiracy cat saying gas pressure is different from pressurized gas. Right? There is no difference.
It's not the same. It's a false equivalence. I'm not saying that gas pressure and atmospheric pressure are the same. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's a difference between a measured angle size compared to the measured angular size, because one of them requires the distance to be stated, whereas the other one does not. And you're not agreeing with that, and that's fine. But it's wrong. But if you don't want to accept it,
hold on 1 second. 1 sec to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. 1 sec. Hello. From coe.edu. What is the difference between size and angular size? The main idea here is that the further away an object is, the smaller it appears. We call this apparent size. The angular size of an object, because you're not actually measuring the object's true size. You're measuring the angle it takes up in your vision.
From a particular point.
That's not what it says.
Yeah, but that is what it is.
No, that's not what it's defined as in this instance. Yes. Nor was it defined that way in my last definition.
You can deny it if you want, but what you're doing is denying the definition.
Anthony, nobody is denying what's on screen. That's the use of the angular size. Nobody is denying the use of it.
For denying what's written on screen, the angular size is not merely the measured angle. If you don't accept that, that's on you. That's on you, not on me.
I have a question, gentlemen. I have a question. I have a question. If you're measuring the angular size of a chair that you'll use and a mountain, and the chair is right beside the mountain, and you're standing at the same distance, would there be a difference between the angular size between the mountain and the chair?
No,
Of course they would.
no, they would appear
Okay.
the same in your view, and therefore their angular size is the same.
Then if the chair is right next to the mountain,
No,
the
wrong.
chair
right.
right next to the mountain is going to be
It's wrong
Exactly.
because you've got the cows, right? You've got that scene that you always say: close, big, far, small, right? When you're talking about the distance to or the angular size of the cow in the field, you need to know whether that cow is in the field or is it the miniature in your hand. If you don't know that, then they're both going to have the same angle size, but unless you
Angular.
distinguish the distance involved, you can't tell whether it's the one in your hand or the one in the field that's miles away. You've got to denote the distance to know its angular size. Otherwise, you're stuck with that infinitely variable proportionality argument where it can be any size at any
not.
distance. You just slide it up and down.
You're not, Anthony. You're completely. I mean, they couldn't be missing this anymore. And I can measure the angular size of something, and I don't have to know its actual size or the distance or its actual distance from me to just measure
You've got
its
an
angular
infinitely
size.
variable scale, Brian. You have
But it
no
won't be
idea.
a-
Its
I'm
distance.
not claiming any of those things. You're completely missing it. I'm not claiming any of those things. I can just measure an angular size and just go, that's that angular size.
then you don't know how
and
big it
walk
is.
away. I don't need
You
all
don't
the
know how big it is.
information. I don't have to know how big it is if I'm not using it. I can just measure it and walk
Okay.
away without using it.
You can get your thumb and you can put it next to the moon and they're about the same size, right? And Brian's saying that they're about the same angular size. And I'm saying, no, they're not. They're the same
They are.
angle size. But because you haven't addressed which one you're referring to by distance, you don't know whether, because they're both not the same size. You don't know whether I'm talking about my thumb or the moon in the sky, but they both have the same size when you measure its angle.
Right.
But it tells you nothing about the thing that
It's
you're
not
talking about.
actual.
Yeah, but it's not actual. Angular is not actual. It's a perspective
I
size.
know
Yeah.
it's more than simply measuring the angle, because if you just measure the angle, it means nothing when you're trying to establish
Yeah,
how far away the
that's
moon
my
is.
point.
You
but
need
that
to
doesn't stop me.
know a
No, hang on,
actual
one second
size
now.
or distance before
Correct.
you can establish anything about
Yeah,
it.
we know that. We
You
know
only
that.
have
My
angular
God, this
size.
But that's the whole
stupid.
point, Brian.
Could you
don't
please leave me and
have any
Anthony out
actual
of a second,
distance.
Arwijn?
More
Arwijn,
size.
please. Yeah, I know that. Everyone knows that. You're missing the point. Anthony's saying I can't just measure the angular size of something. I can just measure the angular size of something, but I can't use that. Hang on, I'm not finished. I can't use that measurement unless I have the actual size of it or the actual distance to it. I can't
Right.
use it, but I
You're
can do it. Hang on, I can measure that angular size.
No,
Right. Yeah,
I
you can.
you can't.
You can.
You've got it
I
wrong, Brian.
can.
No,
this is
you can't.
ridiculous,
Brian.
Anthony.
You can't
This
use
is
it
so.
for
Yes,
anything.
I
Get it
can.
angular
Yes,
Well,
size.
thank you,
I'm amazing.
Arwijn. You've been
This
asked
is
by
so
Brian to not make this
Not one.
absolute. Hello? Arwijn, you've been asked by Brian politely not to make it unlistenable, so you've just decided, no, I'm going to talk through every word of this.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Blame me for talking through everybody and making a rush. Yes. Thanks, Nathan. Thanks a fucking lot. Yeah, after having to witness another freaking half hour straight of bickering and talking over each other. Yeah, and then I'm going to be pointed at. Thanks a fucking lot for the one, like 30 seconds that I spoke up in the entire damn show. You have to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're going crazy, there's no need for this. We were asked just to leave me and Anthony out of it.
You're all right, man?
Exactly. Let
You're
them
sick
go
of
at
the
it.
fucking bickering. I have to hear to this shit an hour
Go
yesterday.
away.
You won't stop. You won't stop talking over each other. It's fucking agitating.
That's
Hey,
right.
how did you talking over the top of us? Head
No
matters,
swearing.
Arwijn. Please
No
tell us how
swearing.
that head. I'm not swearing. Please tell us how that heads matters, Arwijn. You talking in over the
You
top
guys
of
are
me, Tony,
interrupting
already going
Arwijn's
at it.
interruption.
Chocolate, now you're doing it.
Clear it up and cut it off because you just keep back and forth bickering. not
Maybe
listening.
leave it happen. Maybe leave me and Tony go at it. Why do you have to jump in there and make it even worse?
Because we don't need another freaking hour of bickering back and forth of you not listening to each other. That we
Didn't
had
you and Anthony go
yesterday
at it
already.
with
We don't
Anthony?
need it again. Yeah, now
I
you
heard
don't
that
yell. Now
already.
I get angry. Now it's your time to talk over me and get angry, right, Neil?
No, I'm
Super
trying to make-
helpful. Thanks.
I'm trying to make a point. Didn't you and Anthony go at it for a while? And a lot of good came
Everyone
out of it?
stop. Anthony, angular size is just a measurement of something's angle. You can call it angle size all you like, but you're just wrong.
You can't.
Sorry.
You can't. It requires the distance to be stated, otherwise you have no knowledge of how big the thing is that you're looking at.
That's not the claim of
nothing to do
angular
with
size.
But what if you don't want it?
Angular size.
What if you don't want
Can
it?
I ask a question?
Brian
Let
is-
me just speak
Brian
to
and
Anthony.
Nathan are both
Brian's tried.
missing.
I've tried. Anthony, you're saying you must acquire the distance, and if you don't know the distance, you can't know its size. Yeah, that's true. But
Yeah.
but what Brian's trying to communicate with you, let's say you've got a sextant. That's a tool for measuring an angle, isn't it, Anthony?
Correct.
Right. I point it at Snaefell,
Yeah.
and I say 5 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
You've not got its angular size.
That is exactly what I've just done.
No, it's not. You've measured its angle size, but you've not got its angular size because you have no knowledge of how far away
You
you
made
are
up
from it.
angle size, Anthony. You
That's
just
what
made that
angular
up.
size is.
No, it's not. You're conflating the word angle size with the word or the phrase angular size. They are
Okay,
not
let's try
the same
it
thing.
differently.
So,
Let's just try
Tony-
one last example, then I'll hand back to Brian. I've tried. I gave
I'm
up
waiting
quicker
for
than
the
you did, Brian.
citation.
You've had a longer crack of the whip than me. I did try once already. Okay, you got your 2 cows, Anthony. You're going to stick one on the
Yes.
window ledge and
Yes.
force it to be, by your perspective, the exact same apparent size as the cow in the distance. So, to
Correct.
your vantage, they are, to all intents and purposes, in your field of view, the same size. Okay,
Correct.
that's the scenario. You with me so far?
Correct.
Okay.
Right, yeah, I completely agree.
Okay. Now we're going to measure the angular size of both cows with a sextant.
You're not going to be able to do one. You can only do one and not the other
Why?
What?
because you don't know the distance to the one in the field.
I don't
You
know the
don't need to
distance.
know the
I don't know the
distance.
distance to the one on the window ledge.
Yeah, you do because you put it there yourself. You can measure that with a ruler or a tape measure.
I could. But this is the point that you're missing from Brian. He's tried 5 times. You could run a ruler to the cow in the window ledge, but I'm just not going to.
Then you can't get angular size for
I
either.
can still point the sextant at it
No,
and
you
measure its
can't.
angular
You're
size.
ignoring
I
the
can.
definition. It requires the distance to be stated. It's
Wrong.
not
You're
just
just
the
wrong.
angle size.
Sorry.
No,
you're
it
wrong.
doesn't.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
Citation.
You need to, in the same way that you have to say pressure of the water boils at 100 degrees Celsius at sea level because it varies depending on what pressure you're at and altitude. You have to do the same, the exact same thing with angular size. It is X amount of angles
It's not true.
at whatever distance. Because if you don't give the distance, you've just got a cow on a window ledge and a cow in a field that appear to be the same size, and you have no idea which ones you're talking about.
That's
Like,
correct.
You could be on about the one.
Yes, that's
It's not
correct.
relevant.
Hello.
It's
Hello?
irrelevant.
Hello? Yes, trying to reply to him. Yeah, that's correct, Anthony. You've got 2 cows, the same angular size, that you don't know the actual size or actual distance of, but you do know their
Wrong.
angular size because you've just
Wrong.
measured it.
You've just misrepresented it again. You've just said you've got
Anthony,
2 cows
you're not
that are the
listening to me.
same angular size, but you didn't say they can't be the same angular size if one's on the window ledge and one's in the field.
Yes, they
They
can.
can't be.
Yes, they can.
No, they can't. Not
Yes,
unless
they
you
can.
identify the
Yes.
distance.
Anthony.
You can,
Yes,
again, you're
Anthony, that
conflating
joke.
and confusing
And bloody
angle
hell,
size with
please, with the
angular
verbal
size.
diarrhea.
No, it's by definition, Nathan. You're just denying the definition.
Right, Anthony, I've heard you say.
Citation.
Hello? Yes, I've heard you say the words by definition about 16 times. Thank you. With the verbal diarrhea while I'm trying to respond to you. Yes, you can absolutely have 2 things of differing sizes that are the same angular size. That's why.
No, you can't. You can't because you have to denote the distance. You're ignoring the distance requirement and saying it's verbal diarrhea. That doesn't make it so.
Citation. You keep
on screen.
defining something that doesn't exist, Tony.
Okay, where's this from?
Distance or
Okay.
size have nothing to do with angular size at all.
It's on
nothing.
screen.
Absolutely
screen.
nothing.
Well, then
Angular,
reference it.
angle size, nothing.
If Arwyn and
Please read
Brian
it, Anthony.
and Nathan deny the definition by consensus only, I am incorrect. But you both, all 3 of you, are ignoring that it requires the definition to be satisfied. Otherwise, it's wrong. If you guys want to do that, feel free. But you just
I'll read
fucking
it.
Or
morons.
can you
No, I'll read it.
can you read the
Anthony, if you
definition for
want.
the people that can't see what you have in front of your face? Because we can't see it.
Okay,
and we
for
would
the
like to know
benefit
what
of
the
those who
definition
can't
says.
see what is on screen, it literally has a picture of a guy measuring the size of the moon, and it says with an angular size in the middle, with the distance from it being measured, it says, quote, the angular size of an object is determined by its actual size and its distance from the observer. That second bit is being completely ignored.
No,
Now, you
it's
guys are
not.
free to ignore it if you want.
You're an idiot. Your source sucks. And now let me represent an official definition.
Yeah, that
Idiot.
looked like a globe,
Idiot.
example.
Hello, can
No,
you all
no, it
stop?
doesn't. It's not a global
Stop!
example.
Stop! Go ahead, Arwyn.
Yeah, so here, an immediate search result, yeah? The amount of space it takes up in your field of view in degrees. Yeah?
Yeah, and
That's it.
From a citation called
it,
Imagining
Tony.
the Universe.
Not time for you to talk over it. That's it. Yeah,
You know-
no distance, no actual size. It's how many angles of degrees it takes up in your field of view, and that is it.
It isn't, because it doesn't
it is.
distinguish between that. It doesn't
No,
distinguish between.
Anthony,
Shut
you're
up.
mixing.
Shut
Oh, can you
up.
let Anthony
For
reply?
fuck's sake.
I
Hold on,
won't
Brian.
shut up.
Just let him reply. Go ahead, Anthony.
I'm going to step out because you're just denying the definitions. And if you want to deny the definitions, that's fine. But I'm not playing this
No.
game. Have a great day, guys.
We're not denying
Yeah,
anything.
thanks for
Anthony. You just-
sourcing that
Okay.
brilliant page of yours.
Okay, I want to say something.
Okay,
real
now
quick.
he's gone.
Hang
Let's
on.
Now he's gone. Anthony was wrong. Angular size is merely
Completely wrong.
the size it represents in your field of view. He was wrong. That's all
Right.
there is to it.